In this video, we'll show you how to sew a Hmong shirt using a pattern by Zhang Seams. This is a size 42 basic shirt pattern, includes the front. This is the sleeve pattern, and this is the back of the shirt pattern. Lay out your fabric folded in half, put your front shirt pattern on top. Pin the pattern in place, or you can use weights here. Cut out your shirt pieces. After unpinning, you should have two identical pieces. Next, you want to trace your darts onto the fabric using tracing paper and a tracing wheel. You can get both of these items at any Joann's. Repeat the process of cutting and tracing darts onto lining pieces. Here mine are pink, and now you should have 4 front shirt pieces. Next, we're going to sew the darts down on all 4 pieces. To do that, you want to fold over on the flat side first. You could see the line here for sewing. Pin it in place, and then head over to your machine and sew along these sewing lines. Fold along the folding lines. After you're all done sewing the darts, head over to an ironing board and iron your darts down flat with the fabric underneath facing your sides. Once you have all 4 pieces ironed, now you want to sew along the yellow line to close up the front. Make sure you leave a 1/2 inch seam allowance according to the pattern. Once sewn, you'll have 2 pieces looking like this. Next, you'll want to iron them. Flip them over completely and iron them flat. So now you'll have the good sides of both pieces facing outwards. Your completed front pieces should look like this. Your next step is to add on any kind of pandao according to your preference. Pin your pandao in place so that nothing moves when you're sewing it down. Head over to your machine, sew your pieces, take out your pins as you're sewing along. And your completed pieces should look like this. Next, we will work on the back of the shirt pattern pieces. For this, fold your fabric over once, pin your pattern in place, and then cut it out. Once cut, you would want to trace the darts again using tracing paper and a tracing wheel. Make sure to get the dart on both sides. Next, sew your dart down, fold along the fold line, pin in place. Repeat on the other side. Head over to your ironing board and iron the darts down nice and flat with the fabric on the inside facing out. Do this to both sides. Repeat the process of cutting out and sewing down darts onto a lining fabric. Iron down the darts. Now you'll have the back shirt piece and a lining piece completed. Now we're going to sew them together at the yellow line on the neck opening. Lay them one on top of the other and pin them in place. Head on over to a sewing machine and sew along the neck opening using a 1/2 inch seam. Once you have it sewn, make sure you make little cuts right at the corners. This is so that you give it ease and you can flip the fabric. If you don't cut, it won't be able to flip. Head over to your ironing board, flip the fabrics over, and then iron down your fabrics. Now you should have the lining on the inside and the good fabric on the top. Pin down your bandao and head over to a sewing machine and sew it in place. Your completed back shirt pattern should look like this. Next, we'll work on the sleeves. Same situation, fold your fabric over in half, place your sleeve pattern on top and pin in place, and then cut it out. You should do this twice so that you'll have 2 sleeves. Repeat your cutting with a lining fabric. Next, we're going to sew the lining and the sleeve fabric together. Pin together at the sleeve opening. Head over to a machine and sew them together using a 1/2 inch seam allowance. Head over to an ironing board, flip your fabrics over, iron down the sleeve opening so it's nice and flat. You'll have the lining on the inside now. Next, add on your bandao to the sleeve, pin in place, and sew it down. Your completed sleeve should look like this. Now that you have all of your pieces completed, we're going to be connecting them together. Start with the back piece and the 2 front pieces. We're going to sew them down at the blue lines, which are the shoulders. Pin them in place, head over to a machine and sew them down. Don't forget to serge your raw edges before moving on to the next step. You want to do this to both of the shoulders. Now you have them connected together at the shoulders. If you open them up, it'll look like this. We want to get rid of the excess fabric at the armhole here, so we're just going to trim it off. Do it to both sides. And then we can go ahead and bring in our sleeve pieces and connect them into the armhole, which is the pink lines on the pattern. I like to start at the center just so that I know that the sleeve is centered on the armhole. And what you want to do is just pin the sleeve onto the shirt all the way around on both sides. After pinning down your sleeve onto the shirt, head over to a machine and sew down the sleeve to the shirt. You will have some excess fabric here for ease. Don't worry about it, just make sure you sew nice and flat so there's no puckering. After you finish sewing it together, don't forget to serge or ultra lock the edges so that you get rid of the raw edges and you get a nice clean finish. Attach both sleeves. After you're all done, you open it up. It should look like this. So you can see the sleeves are attached. Now we want to close up the shirt and do that by flipping everything over so that you can line up the sleeves and the sides of the shirt. Pin them down. I like to start at the armholes so that everything matches up. Then pin down your sleeves and your sides. Once everything is pinned down, head over to your sewing machine and sew it down all the way from the wrist down to the hem of the shirt. After you've sewn down the sides for the shirt, both of them, it'll look like this. What we're going to do is sometimes you'll have extra sleeve fabric. We're just going to trim it off so it's nice and even along with the sides of the shirt. If you don't have excess sleeve fabric, that's totally okay. This is just if you do have excess. Make sure you serge the raw edges so you get a nice clean finish. You're also going to serge the bottom of the shirt, so that's also nice and clean. You won't have any raw edges hanging out. This will also get rid of excess thread. This is what your shirt will look like once it's completed. We're going to flip everything inside out now. And here you go, a finished size 42 Hmong shirt.